Oh, hi, Candace.
What's up?
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I mean, it's been busy, man. 3 kids under 3 years old. It's just been wild. A crazy year already, but blessed.
Wait, how is that possible? Wait, 3 kids under 3? Wait.
I know, I had a kid every year for 3 years. I was just like permanently pregnant. It was crazy.
That's actually crazy. Wait, sorry, I know this is kind of like, I don't want to come out as rude. Wait, how old are you, if you want me asking?
No, it's not rude. I don't know why people are so weird, why women are so weird about that. I'm 35.
See, I just said this earlier. You're probably like the only girl on the internet that I like. Because most girls on the internet, they would think that was rude, and then they would probably say something like, oh my God, I'm not answering that. So I appreciate you answering that.
Yeah, it's such an easy question. I don't know why girls are weird about it. We're all getting older. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's part of life. What's it called? Wait, so where are you at right now?
I'm actually in my house, just sitting in my podcast studio, chatting with you. I basically have to hide because otherwise you're just going to hear kids screaming. So
makes sense. Yeah, I was trying to we were trying to do this for months. I'm glad we could finally make it happen. That's good. I appreciate you coming on. I was actually trying to do this around the time I was doing something with President Trump. Which have you done anything with him yet or no?
I haven't, because things have obviously been completely crazy since the assassination attempt,
Yeah.
and also obviously anybody who's been paying attention to my life publicly knows that it's been quite a crazy year for me as well. And so I actually haven't reached out to his team. You know, they were doing a lot of I was happy to see that he did your show and that he did Theo Vaughn, because I felt like they were doing all the boring stuff before. Like, I don't really care to see him on like MSNBC. Yeah, like, you know, it's always the same interview, trying to be like a gotcha interview. And I think, like, for most people, we just want to see him, like the fun side of him. Like, who is he as a grandfather? Who is he as like a friend? And so I was very happy to see that they're now starting to dip their toe into doing like streamers and podcasters, because that's way more influential in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree with you. I think like, and again, I think that did so much for him, right? As far as like press goes, like I saw it everywhere. When I did something, when Theo did something, like it was really, really good. And I think that's like what he kind of needs to do, show his fun side, show who he is as a person, because, you know, I just see so much, you know, BS going on right now. Like, there's so much propaganda going on, and with everything. And I'm glad that like people could see the actual goodness of his heart and like him, which is really good. I wanted to ask you first off, like, what are your thoughts on what's going on right now, like with the current, like the election? Like, what do you think what's going on right now?
You know, it's funny because I just said this on my show today, but I'm just like, I don't know if I'm the only person that is just so bored with politics. Like, there's something about it that now just feels like we're watching the same skit every year. And so I said on my podcast, I'm like, everything's just fake and gay. You know, like it's just nothing's legit anymore. It's the same response, the same outrage. It doesn't matter what the topic is. Like, you know, obviously today, a very serious thing happened, like a school shooting. But before you can even process and feel compassionate about it, you have this exactly what you expect. Like, you know, the White House comes in and says, we need to ban guns, and suddenly it's a political debate. They're all saying the same stuff. And so it just needs a breath of fresh air. Everything is so stale right now. I'm hardly even talking about politics on my show because I've just gotten bored with it. And that's why I said, like, it was cool to see him do something different. Like, I'd much rather see Trump on Alex Jones' show, jumping on a streamer podcast. I want to like watch Trump try to play and win Mario Kart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I know.
That's what I need for politics, because I already know what everybody's going to say. I already know what everybody thinks, and it's boring.
Well, I agree with you on that. I think it's like in a really, really weird spot right now, right? It's like all very predictable on what's going on, and you know, but I do want to ask you this, because I've been really trying to figure out the real reason why, and we could kind of like, you know, diverse a little bit. But why is Kamala getting like so much press? I see her everywhere. I see people like really like falling for it. I see her everywhere. It was out of the blue. As soon as Biden dropped out, it's like she's literally blasted everywhere I see her. I wanted to ask you, why is that?
Adin, because everything is fake and gay, right? So they just like put her into the machine, and then suddenly that's it. She's our new Beyonce, and just right on time, like Megan Thee Stallion comes out and starts twerking for votes. It's like, okay, we're just gonna run the exact same repeat. It's like one half of the WAP duo. Back when it was Biden running for office, it was Cardi B. Now it's Kamala Harris. They've got Megan Thee Stallion twerking for votes and fundraisers. I'm like, well, wow, we're just really gonna run the exact same thing. And then they're like suddenly trying to like hype Beyonce at the DNC and sing. She comes out to Beyonce. We fully know she could not even sing the lyrics to that Beyonce song that she walked out to. But now all of a sudden she's like speaking about her black heritage. Before this, when she was elected into Congress, all she spoke about was being like the first Indian elected to this. Like, so it's just like, and people fall for it. That's the part that really trips me out. It's like, how can you continually keep falling for it? That's what's weird. I feel like I'm on the outside watching a movie, and I've seen the movie and the script so many times, and yet the characters in it really play their parts every time. You know, like they're like, oh my, first time a woman, and like we're running like the Hillary Clinton I'm with her vibes from 2016, and it's gonna be the first. Like, how many times can we keep doing this? And so I just kind of have like tapped out from it because I can't stand to watch it. I just need and crave something more authentic right now.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I really do. You know, it's all so like stupid. And again, like that's what I want. It's like all of a sudden she just started claiming that she's black, and like and like it's just like all this like. She's just like switching up, and then like I saw like the way that she like speaks now, like she like changes her accent, her tone, and her voice. It's just like so, it's corny. It really is. But
quoting rappers now too. Like, who in their right mind thinks that when Kamala Harris, I don't even know what her husband's name is. I literally don't. Is it Doug? Is her husband's name Doug?
I don't know.
Literally, I don't know what her husband. I think it might be Doug. I think so. But who actually thinks that when you get up in the Harris household, that they're listening to Megan Thee Stallion and like Offset and all of the rappers who she's now quoting on stage? Like, who actually thinks she knows those songs? And I go, nobody could be that dumb. And then you look out, and there's people like, yes, ha, you know, not like us, ain't like us. Like, I'm like, who actually thinks that she's listening to that music? Yeah. And unfortunately, it really just shows you, like, the power of the mainstream media. Like, the propaganda really works. If you just say something enough times, it becomes true. And so all they have to do is sell it to you, put a little sprinkle of a Beyonce song on it, and people are like, yeah, I'm with her. Like, she's the truth, even though nothing she has ever said has bbeen honest or truthful.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that. It's all a bunch of bullshit. And you know, it's a very important election this year. And I think that we have to all really be careful. I think everyone's vote truly matters. I think everyone needs to really take a lot of thinking, but it's not hard to really think about it into their vote because it's a very important election. What do you think is going to happen? What are your predictions for this election?
You know, I kind of got out of political prognostications last election because I'm one of the people, oh my gosh, who believes that the last election was fully stolen. You know, it's just not normal. I've been in America my whole life. You don't say, let's stop counting votes, and then when people are dead asleep, the exact opposite result happens. And it doesn't matter how much the media tries to gaslight me about that. I'm never going to believe the 2020 election was not rigged. Yeah. And we have not addressed those problems. So when we get into this song and dance of who's going to win, I'm going, okay, but what have we done to address all of these things that were passed in lieu of COVID? Suddenly we're like flooding people with mail-in ballots. I think California made that a thing forever. Like Gavin Newsom was like, no, forever, mail-in ballots.
Oh, he's the worst.
Everyone's going to get one whether you request one or not. And so I've lost faith in our institutions to begin with. Obviously, my hope and my encouragement is for everyone to get out and vote for Trump, you know, because if you are between the two people, I mean, one wants to usher in a state of communism, right? So if you are really believing, because this woman is half Indian and she's not even half black, just to be clear, like we can't even get clarity on that. She might be like 10% black somewhere, but even her father is Indian. So it's just completely wild. If you think that that's a reason for you to ignore the policies that she has supported and you don't think it's going to impact your life, man, look around. How are we at the phase right now, Adin, where people are not even believing their own eyes? Like, everybody knows they were living better under Trump. And they're buying the rhetoric that when Trump gets into office, like, you're going to be back in slave chains. And I'm like, he was already in office. Like, how can somebody convince you against your own experiences? Like, it's amazing to me how propaganda works. Yeah. But, you know, I'm with Trump. I support Trump. I hope that Trump wins. but I don't have enough faith in our institutions to put in a guess and say, like, he's definitely got this thing,
Yeah, I agree with exactly what you just said. I want to touch base on the topic that's really important to me that actually bugs me, right? Like, I have no issue with what people want to do, with their lives. Like, everyone deserves to be happy, I believe, and I believe that everyone deserves to do what they want to do. Everyone's life is very important, and they should all be, basically do what they want to do. I just don't like certain agendas being pushed on the youth, and I don't like certain agendas being pushed on certain groups of people. And I want to know your thoughts on that. Like, do you see anything like nowadays in the world where it's being pushed on children, the youth, etc.? Any specific?
Yeah, so I have this motto, and I'm going to start selling T-shirts that just say "Bring back cigarettes." And people go, "What are you talking about? Cigarettes were so bad they gave you cancer." Well, let me explain it. So when I was growing up, there was this huge campaign, a very successful campaign, to get Americans to stop smoking cigarettes, because it is natural for children to want to rebel. Right, that stage of adolescence is never going to go away. And it used to be, when we were like a normal country, when kids were rebelling, they were like, "I'm going to go smoke a cigarette and skip school." Nowadays, it's like, "Hey, I'm going to go on puberty blockers." Like, now we've put in like Operation LGBTQ community, and the kids are doing things that are fundamentally changing their entire lives, like changing their entire prospect for life. It's like they're experimenting with their bodies, and that is such a shame to me, And so when I see this Operation LGBTQ community, and you see that they've now implemented this into the school system, into the public school agenda, trying to make confuse children when they're young, it absolutely infuriates me as a parent, and just as a moral citizen. Like, you don't even have to be a parent to understand how wrong this is and how demented it is to utilize adolescence as a time to manipulate children into making lifelong decisions. And I want to be clear, it's not just morally wrong, it's an evil. It's an evil, and there's a reason for that. People have to be willing to have these conversations. Why do they want everybody to be homosexual? Like, what is so wrong about being a straight male in today's society? Well, the truth is that you're starting to see that the government just wants to have domain over your entire life, everything. I mean, down from what you're eating. They're poisoning us. They're trying to get people on pharmaceuticals as young as possible, And in order to really complete that takeover of your life, there can be no one to stand up to them. Right? Yeah. And what is the biggest threat to a government? Strong men. And so it infuriates me that they're trying to just like instill this homosexual agenda on children without them understanding that it's a part of a larger evil agenda.
I want to ask you a question, as a mom, and you, like you just said, like it makes you upset. Obviously, of course, I think any more person, like you said as well, it makes me upset, and I'm not even a parent. If I don't know what you're planning on doing with your kids, but you obviously want to make sure they're getting a good education. Do you plan on putting them in a public school that I don't know, what state do you live in? Sorry.
I live in Tennessee, and my plans are to homeschool. I just had this conversation with my husband this week, so it's so funny you're saying that, because we met a family that homeschooled their children, and they were an absolute delight. I mean, just well-rounded children who are extremely athletic, in the top 1% in the nation for mathematics, and you realize that, wow, when you take this stuff at home, the public school system is an abject failure.
Yeah.
And so I know that it's a luxury to say that you can homeschool your kids. For some people, it's a huge luxury, because unfortunately you have both parents working. Thank you, feminism. Yay, women love working just like men. Thanks, feminists. But my plan and my goal and my hope is to homeschool my children, because I just can't put them in this situation that I see happening.
I do have a question, because if I ever have kids, I plan on doing the same thing, because the education system now is horrible. But the only thing that I ever thought of, and I want to know what you think of this, is like, what about their social life? What about like, how do they like how do they like learn to like develop how to communicate with people, and like networking and like things like that? Like, how are they going to learn how to like get friends, basically? Like, how does that happen?
Yes, well, the early socialization happens when you have siblings, so I stand up for government also by just believing that we should all be having tons of kids, and they keep telling us, just have one, don't be selfish. No, have siblings. If you grow up with siblings, you know how it works. You get beat up, you're fighting, you're socialized pretty quickly, and you have to survive, and you're not a brat. But the second element of that is to put them into a ton of activities, So I still want my kids to be playing sports. I still want them to be dancing. Like, I want my little girl, I have this dream that she's going to dance ballet, even though maybe against her will, it might be me living through my child vicariously. and that's how you socialize. But also micro communities. This is what it's really about. Like, know your neighbors. That's normal. Like, we've gotten so far away from that thanks to this city agenda. Like, it's New York and LA. And what was so refreshing about moving to the South is people care and know their neighbors. Like, as soon as you move in, like, that idea of someone bringing over a cup of sugar, that's real. People sent us cookies, people sent us flowers, welcome to the neighborhood. They want to know about you. And we've just been removed so far away from that. And so reinstilling, family, faith, and neighborhood, I think, is a big part of that. And of course, I'm a Christian, so getting involved with the church, you naturally have a community.
Yeah, it's so funny because now schools nowadays, they used to teach like God and like the Bible and like all this stuff, right? And it's like now they're teaching like completely different agendas and stuff, and it's just it's insane, like where it was years and years ago to where it is now. We're going downhill, and it's really, really sad that everybody is kind of falling for it,
It's a humanist agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, what they did was they removed God because the government actually wants to be God in your life. And you saw the greatest example of that during COVID. Like, people were turning on their TV screens and like worshiping whatever Dr. Fauci said. It was scary. I mean, they had signs in their yards like, thank you, Dr. Fauci, like he was God. And if Dr. Fauci came down and said, like, don't see your grandma, let her die alone, people did it. They did it.
That's crazy.
Commandment that they must follow, and you have to reflect on that and realize how much of a humanist agenda that really was. Like, place your faith in man, place your faith in the experts. It is such a perversion of the word of God, and it was done intentionally and very slowly, I believe, by the communists that came into this country, and I believe that they were the ones that instilled the public education system. For that.
Makes sense. So, Candace, where's the best place to live? Like, where's the best place to grow up? What's the best, highest quality of life you can get as of right now in the world, would you say?
The South. I mean, I'm in Tennessee. I absolutely love this state. It's the best place I've ever lived. We were between here and Texas. I do love my Texans. There will always be like a brotherhood between the Texans and the Tennesseans. I mean, they call us the volunteer state because we volunteered to help Texas.
Gotcha.
But everything that you're told by the media about the South being backwards and racist and, slow is a complete lie, because they don't want you realizing that the people down here are getting something right. They value their family. They value their friendships, they value their neighbors, and they do not want the government in their business. And so if that's backwards, I don't want to be forward.
Gotcha. Candace, what is your background? Where did you grow up? What's your ethnicity? I'm just curious because, like you said, like a lot of people like are under the impression, the South is all full of racist people and all this stuff. So tell me about your background.
So I grew up in Connecticut, and it's funny because during my formative years, I moved in with my grandparents when I was 7 years old. Okay. And my grandfather, even though we were living in Connecticut, he's from the South. He's from Fayetteville, North Carolina. He grew up in the segregated South, grew up on a sharecropping farm. And he's the one that instilled early on in me the conservative values that I have today. I always remind people I took a very liberal route to conservatism. So don't worry, I was a feminist. I was like, yay, let's go party. And, during the 18, 19, 20, 21. But I came back to my faith. I came back to conservatism because I realized that the happiest and the best people that I ever knew were my grandparents. Married when they were 17 years old, stayed married until my grandmother's dying day. And what they put first always were their values, their faith and their family. And so when you start to see that, where in the beginning I was like running away from my grandparents, I was so embarrassed that they were like the Bible Belt Christians that people tell you about. And then you realize, man, they were so happy and it was so simple. And it's because they believed in order, just order. They believed in respect. My grandmother respected my grandfather. Like they believed even in traditional masculinity and traditional femininity. Like there is a natural order to things and it works. Men should be men, women should be women. We shouldn't be trying to breed the natural aggression out of men by telling them it's toxic. Like, we can't survive without strong men. That aggression is what protects homes and protects families. We shouldn't be trying to breed femininity out of women, like encouraging them to be clinically obese and not care about their looks because F the patriarchy. Like, that's a beautiful design. Like, we're meant to be the weakness in men, right? Like, it's such a beautiful yin and a beautiful yang. And once you realize that our world is disordered in the West because they keep fighting natural order, then you become like me and you just become like obsessed with saying like, no, like we're going back to the basics. And that's what I believe I am. I just defend natural order as it is.
Got it. Yeah, no, I understand that. I have a question for you that I've always wondered because, 10 years ago when I was, I was like in my teens, well, yeah, like a teenager. So when I would go to like New York and when I would go to like Los Angeles, they were completely different than what they are now. Even San Francisco, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. California is one of the most beautiful states ever. Beautiful weather, everything. Now you go to these places, it's ruined. Newsom obviously ruined California. Everyone knows that. But even New York City it's horrible now. Have you been to New York recently or LA recently?
It literally has a stench now. It has a stench. It's so disgusting and filthy.
Yeah, it's so sad. My question to you, Candace, is is there any hope for these cities, these big cities? Like, can they come back, or are they pretty much they're done?
It's difficult for me with the policies that Gavin Newsom passed to see how California can come back. New York, I will hold a candle out for. Look, I was born in New York, so I might be speaking completely biased here. But you're right. I mean, these cities sell you freedom so that they can enslave you. Yeah. And that's what's happened across the board. These inner cities have been completely enslaved by the concept of freedom, like believing in this dream that everything can be free and you have to be accepting of everything. And then you look around you and you realize that like you've been completely dominated by this concept of freedom that was never actually real, and you've become really a slave to your own vices. And so that's why people are fleeing the cities. I wish them luck. I would move out of California if I lived there on the basis of the policies which even control your children and control your children's bodies. For me, I could never be there. I think it's horrific.
It's horrible. I went to high school in California, and I talked about this with President Trump, and they tell you, we hate Trump and all these things, like he's bad, he's a crook, all this stuff, and you're never ever supposed to endorse politics on children. That's parents' jobs to teach them and inform them on certain topics like that. Why are teachers discuss that? It's crazy. What are your thoughts on like that? We already talked about the education system, but like, what are your thoughts on like how like these public education systems, how corrupt they are, and these teachers they're now allowed to voice their own political opinions down and stuff?
Yeah, well, they're not teachers; they're activists. And that is the reason why they wanted to set up the public school system that federalized public education for a reason, because it allows them to choose their activists, and they're training up these activists and university campuses, which have become totalitarian states. And so, yes, are there good teachers? Of course. But the reality is, especially when you get into the inner city community, you have a bunch of people that are activists who believe that that the students are their children, that they're not the children of the parents, and they're constantly trying to teach them, to brainwash the children into believing that their parents are backwards. Thomas Sowell has a really great book on that, like how they made that incursion following the Department of Education being established in the 1970s. And the book is called Inside the Education System. It's a wonderful read. I mean, they intentionally sexualized kids. Before the Department of Education was established, the majority of high schoolers were graduating with their virginity. Planned Parenthood got into the classroom. They have a seated audience, and they routinely feed them poison. And the sooner that parents recognize that and realize that this is just Soviet propaganda, these are Soviet classrooms. We always study propaganda, and we're like, oh yeah, like Stalin did that. That could never happen here. No, you too are victims of propaganda. I was a victim of propaganda, and the sooner that you realize it, the sooner you can avoid it.
100%. I want to ask you a question that my entire chat is spamming me to ask. It's about Kanye. They said, because I've been trying to get Kanye on like my stream. I've been close like 2 or 3 times. They said ask about Kanye not getting on stream, that she went through something similar or something like that. I think you did do something with him. I saw a clip, I think, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I actually am planning on doing something with him pretty soon again too. And I have always been a person that is friends with Kanye, and obviously he's been through a lot in the public, and I think it's really crappy when people that say they're friends then like deal with each other like they're politicians and issue statements about each other. It's lame. Yeah. Kanye's obviously just dropped his Vultures 2, so he was just in Korea the last that I checked, but I didn't do any streaming with him. I feel like that's like your specialty, like you're the king of streams, but
Appreciate
I just
it.
do like podcasts with him, and I released a podcast that I had vaulted with him, and people really loved it because you got to hear Kanye not on the defense, similar to what we were talking about with Trump. It's nice to
Yeah.
see him not having to be on the defense and just being able to share what he actually thinks.
Yeah, no, seriously. I think I'm a big fan of his music, and a lot of stuff that he said in interviews and stuff, it's super interesting. He's a very, very, very interesting person. Super interesting. I want to ask you a question that's related to you. Would you ever run for presidency, or do you have any type of motivation to run in office of any type of branch or anything like that?
So I can honestly say I have no motivation at the moment. I never say never because I feel like we say something like that, we make plans, and then God laughs, and the next thing you know, you're running for office. What I can say that if I ever ran for president, it would be with Thomas Massie. Like I would either be his VP or ask him to be my VP. I think Thomas Massie is the greatest person in Congress. He's the best that we have going for us. And if we had a bunch of Thomas Massies, the country would be in a completely different state. But he's already there, so I'm just like, Thomas Massie, please run for president, and I will crawl over broken glass to vote for you and to do everything in my power to get America to vote for you. But for me, I love being a mom. I love being able to have a podcast. I love being able to speak about issues that I really care about. Like I'm so anti-vax, and being able to share why that is with parents and to really be able to connect with them as a person. I don't think you get to do that as a president because all you're constantly having to do is fight battles of people lying about you every day.
It's true. It's a bunch
Which
of
I guess I still do now as well, but whatever.
Yeah, you probably have a lot of ops enemies, all the libtards on X trying to come at you, because they come at me too all the time. It's insane. They have this. They're so deep too. Why are they so deep? But you never see them in person. They're so deep, right? I've never seen somebody that quote tweets my tweet with like 100,000 likes, millions of views, and they're just like, "Wow, this transphobic streamer," and like, it's insane. But I don't see them in person. I want to have a conversation with you. I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah, it's
Twitter thugs. That's why
Twitter thugs.
They would never say anything in person because that's where they get their power. They're like, they do this and they hit send and they're so tough. And I'm like, you would never say that to me in my face. You know that I would never accept you saying that to my face. So they have to stay behind their phones.
Yeah, no. You had mentioned there was a school shooting today, and there's quite some that happened. I don't know what the ratio is. I don't want to. I'm misinformed on the ratio, but it happens. I see it a lot, right? I want to ask you, what can we do about school shootings? Because it's a really, really big issue. Kids are kids, and no kid deserves to lose their life over that ever. So what do you think we could do about school shootings?
Well, the number one cause of school shootings is pharmaceuticals, the one discussion that the media will never have with you because they're all bought and paid for by Big Pharma. And so they point the finger, they blame a ton of things, they will blame everything from video gaming to rap music to Donald Trump every single time to Republicans to the NRA, and they never tell us what drugs the kids are on. And they're all on drugs. You can see it in their eyes, you know what pharmaceuticals do to someone, you know what a pharmaceutical cocktail does to somebody. And be very clear here, the CIA wanted to see, they did literal experiments to figure out how they could brainwash people to commit mass crimes. I talk about the books that I encourage people to read online to learn about MKUltra, to learn about all the mind control programs, COINTELPRO, and the things that our CIA has been up to. They know that there is a cocktail of medicine that can make people crazy and schizophrenic. There's a wonderful book called Chaos that I've encouraged people to read that's written by Tom O'Neill, which will really make you understand what your government is. You better believe the deep state is in fact evil, and none of that is a conspiracy. It's recorded fact that this researcher got after 25 years of filing FOIA requests. And so when you realize that they know that they are making these kids insane, they know that these drugs and these SSRIs that they're putting kids on are not good for their brain, and then as soon as a shooting happens, you never hear anybody talk about Big Pharma, we're never going to get to the root of school shootings. Kids are not supposed to be drugged. Your brain is not supposed to be drugged. Clearly what's going on with Britney Spears, everyone's trying to jump conspiracy theories. That's your brain when you are being, Big Pharma has put a cocktail of drugs to experiment with your brain over a long period of time. That is the result. And so we don't have honest conversations about school shooting because nobody, I guess, has the courage to stand up to Big Pharma when they're the biggest lobbying group in DC.
Pharmacies are all a trap, right? Pharmacies are so fucked up. People really It's crazy. It's so easy. It's so easy to just prescribe someone on a bunch of medication that's poison to us. It's like they don't even care. They write a prescription so easily for anything. You go to a doctor, I have anxiety, or I have back pain, or something like that. You're gonna get prescribed like an opioid or something. It's so nuts without even like trying something else to try to resolve it. It's just so easy to prescribe an opioid. And I suffered like a very, very bad opioid addiction that I'm open about. And it's like I understand it. Like I understand how like it's a trap, and it's like it's a whole mess. All that whole pharmaceutical.
Well, good for you for getting for combating opioid addiction, because it's incredibly hard. That is not an easy thing. Like you are blessed, that you are in the minority of people that are able to beat their opioid addictions, and to think that the people who didn't beat it, the people that have died, the people that have turned to the streets because they can't get another prescription after Big Pharma literally made them addicts, and let a drug dealer get caught selling something, they go to prison. Yeah. What happens to Big Pharma? Oh, they get a fine.
Nothing.
I'm sorry that we turned the whole nation into a bunch of opioid addicts. We're willing to cut the check for $1 billion. They already knew it was addicting. Yep. They already set aside money that they knew they were going to have to eventually pay. It's a complete racket. And at the end of the day, it's the American people that are suffering because of all of these drugs. And so I really encourage people, don't take these drugs until you really understand. Like, your doctor is being paid to offer you certain drugs. I mean, even birth control. I'm like also rapidly against birth control after learning all of the research. Why do you think so many women are struggling with infertility? Why do they think these drugs were created in the first place? To make women infertile. So it's just such a racket when you learn the history of these drugs and how these drugs were able to get passed by the FDA and what they always knew about these drugs, and then to see people suffering down the line, it truly is an evil.
It's horrible. This is when I was like 12 years old. I have a story for you. When I was like 12, I was sleeping one time, and my uncle, he was on a bunch of drugs, meth. And he walks in and stabs me with a knife in my sleep. It's crazy. Yeah, stabbed me. Yeah, pulled the knife out, screamed, went to the hospital. But I'm just saying, like, it's insane because he was prescribed like a bunch of drugs, and he got off the prescription, and then he was on meth. And it's crazy. I still see my uncle now and stuff. Thanksgivings and stuff like that.
Like the drug dealers aren't on the streets, by the way. They're in back offices at the FDA. They're in your government. Those are the big guys. If you think it's El Chapo, you're out of your mind. It's these families, the Merck family, the families that have been made billions and trillions of dollars by turning Americans into addicts. It's totally sick and disturbing.
It's horrible. Wait, Candace, how many minutes do I have with you? Sorry, I was curious.
You're good. Don't worry about it.
You're good?
You can get all your questions asked.
Well, I wanted to ask some fun stuff too, because I mean, like, again, like what I wanted to do with President Trump is like he's not all political. Like, it's a human being at the end of the day. Like, I want to ask, like, first off, like, what are some hobbies you like to do? Like, you're a person, you know what I mean? Like, you're like everyone else. You have interests and stuff. What are some of your interests and hobbies that you do?
Okay, so the newest hobby that I picked up in the last couple of years, which people have seen on my Instagram, is gardening, because I realized one day that we're all on welfare if you don't know how to grow your own food. And so I got super into that. Love going to the farmer's market. I think that's the way everyone should shop. It totally changes the game. I know I sound super Southern right now, but even grocery stores is like a step moved in the humanist agenda in my view now. And just being able to support like local farmers. Beyond that, obviously, my hobbies are my kids as well. Like, I mean, the greatest gift that I have is being a mom. I mean, I just have the most beautiful children, the best husband, and me and my husband love to fish. I am a fisher woman. I can be on a boat all day. Particularly, I like lakes.
Gotcha.
I mean, sorry, river fishing, sorry.
River fishing? Oh, that's fun. That's cool.
Yeah. I never stripping down the river and fishing all day. Like you really can't beat it.
No, I never got into fishing, but I always wanted.
It's the best. You have to. Like, go out, like, go see real America. Like, go to Wyoming. Go do Idaho. Go fish, and you'll be like, wow, this is God's country. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, for sure. What about what is your favorite food to eat? Like, what do you like to eat?
Oh gosh, I'm going to be such a stereotype here, but I would probably say I eat a lot of different foods, but everybody knows that chicken is my favorite. It just is. I just think it's a perfect meat. Like chicken pot pie. I mean, any way that you can serve it up, I just think chicken's it's superior. So I hate to fall into every stereotype. Oh wait, but I will say close neck and neck pasta. I do love Italian food. It's really bad.
Super good.
I feel like that's stereotype too. Like, girls love pasta. I am a stereotype in that way. I could eat pasta every day as well. Like a bucatini alla matriciana is my favorite pasta dish without question.
What about chicken in Nashville? Is it good out there? Like, would you say it's up there with, some of the other? Like, I heard Atlanta has the best chicken. That's what like my buddy told me.
Atlanta does.
Yeah.
Atlanta does beat Tennessee, and I love Tennessee, but they tell you about the hot chicken, but honestly, Atlanta has got better chicken.
My buddy wanted me to ask this question. His name is Mike. He said, "What are your thoughts on the Paul brothers, Logan and Jake Paul? What are your thoughts on them?"
Okay, so they're different. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Right? The two of them are different. Which one just got engaged?
That was Logan.
Logan just got engaged to Nina Agdal. I personally hit it off with Jake better. I think Jake has been more authentic about who he is, and he's never really like drifted into the woke BS. And like Logan was hardcore simping for like, I don't know, like BLM. Like he literally like on his show called me like a self-hating black person in one of his like streams, and I was just like, I don't even remember who was next to him, and that was super lame. And then when I said, "Oh, let me come on your show," he wouldn't do that. Now he's kind of shifting, obviously, and I hope it's authentic, but I feel like now it's easy to stand up to being woke, and it wasn't as easy before. And I think it's also because he's getting a lot more into the fighting world, and you really just can't be that woke in the fighting world. It's just not a woke crowd, so to speak. But they've both been kind to me, but I think probably if I had to pick one or the other, I think Jake has been more authentic.
You know what's funny, actually, what you just said, I realized that cancel culture was really a thing during like COVID and stuff, but I realized that it's not even that like big of it, like nobody cares anymore. And it's really people like you, Andrew Tate, Sneeko, honestly myself, because I was going on this little rampage saying stuff. I got banned, and then Kick came, and like Kick Rumble. And where's your platform on? Sorry, where is your podcast on?
I'm on Rumble, YouTube. I host my show on YouTube. I'm on all of them now.
But the point I'm trying to say is it's funny because now it's easier. Like now you can go out and say, "Oh, I like Trump." If you did that before, you're getting dropped by your sponsorships. You're getting dropped by all this stuff. It's stupid. But that's crazy, actually. I just realized that. So
yeah, people that did it earlier, I feel like it was brave, and now it's like everyone's like, "Oh yeah, no, being woke is bad." And I'm like, okay, but like, where were you back in 2018 when we were all getting called every name under the book? Which is fine. I'm very much like, I have the philosophy: people change their minds, and it's good to just invite them into it and fight the woke wars together. But you do remember the real ones who were really going through it before it was easy.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna ask your opinions on other people if you don't mind. So go ahead, guys. You guys can go ahead and type some people out. Do you have a favorite like musician or like rapper or singer or anyone like that you listen to, like your top 3 artists or something like that?
You know what? I got really weird about listening to music because I realized how much it impacts your spirit. And so I now only listen to like honky-dory nice music because I just sort of realized, I was like, wow, you listen to a song and suddenly you're angry. You listen, like however what you're listening to impacts your soul. So I would say I listen to a very eclectic mix of music. I can tell you like across every genre, but in terms of what I've listened to recently, I feel like I haven't been listening to music, and I should get back into it.
Yeah. The new rap.
Also, music is so lame nowadays. It's like we don't even have good artists. We had such good music growing up, and there's just no good music. Like we grew up listening to like Lauryn Hill, the miseducation of Lauryn Hill, and now they're giving us Ice Spice. It's just respect to Ice Spice if she's making money doing that, but what's happening? We had Mariah Carey's voice, we had Whitney Houston, and we just don't get that anymore. Now they're like the best singer-songwriter is Taylor Swift. It's a different world. Like talent is just a different word and has a different meaning nowadays.
I get what you're saying. Okay. So I get you. Yeah, I agree. The new form of music now, it's kind of hard to get into stuff. They're saying some names here. Let's see. Okay, let me see right here. Joe Rogan. What are your thoughts on Joe Rogan?
Do a show again. We haven't talked in a very long time. He's always been very kind to me. I see him at the UFC fights, and no matter what, I love that he will host different ideas. So I respect that he hosts different ideas, and what he did during COVID was exceedingly brave. The calls to cancel him. I mean, you had freaking Meghan and Harry coming out saying, get him off of Spotify because he's talking to people that disagree with the preferred narrative. So he stood up to a totalitarian regime. Does he do it every time? No, but just doing it when it matters should count for something. And so I like Joe Rogan. I think Joe Rogan's cool.
I respect him so heavy. You know, it's funny. I saw you at one of the UFC. I forgot which one. I think it was the one in Florida, the one in Miami. I just didn't want to like.
It was a good one.
It was a good one. I just didn't want to like be like Candace. I didn't want to like. Obviously, like I wanted us to meet like like this, kind of like before I would come up to you.
Oh,
and
you
stuff.
should have totally come up. It's always so fun to meet people at the UFC fight.
Is.
The energy. You can't explain it to people until you're octagon side, you know?
Exactly. No, I love the UFC. It's great. And the energy in that arena is crazy. They're asking thoughts on Alex Jones.
Listen, Alex Jones has always been nice to me. First and foremost, we are not going to pretend like Alex Jones is not objectively hilarious and entertaining. I've always described Alex Jones as like the WWE of politics. He says things and they sound crazy, but what he's saying is actually true. It's just the way he expresses it, like Hillary Clinton is literally crawling from under her rock right now. Like, it's like she's not literally crawling from under a rock, but this is exceedingly entertaining. And he's been right about so many things that people were calling him crazy about, and it's nice to see him being introduced back into the mainstream. I was really excited that Tucker Carlson had him on, and I have always said my biggest regret in politics, and I ended up having him on my show back when I had my old podcast. But my biggest regret in politics is that when he first got banned from Twitter, I didn't say anything because I was kind of just becoming bigger, and everyone was like, just stay away from it. And then I really regretted being a coward. And 8 months later, before he was let back onto Twitter, I had him on my show and I apologized to him publicly because Alex Jones has always been very kind to me and had me on his show very early on. So I like Alex Jones.
I feel you, because like when you're coming up, people will tell you to stay away from certain topics and stuff, and obviously you have something good going on, so it's like you don't want to like ruin it. So you're kind of like not really settled in yet, but once you settled in, you're like, all right, now I'm like gonna really like make sure that I stand with that. That's good. What are your thoughts on? Do you know who Hassan Abi is?
I don't.
Good. Don't. Do you know who Eminem is?
Who?
Eminem. Of course you know who Eminem is.
Yeah, he's writing so many love songs about me at the moment.
Wait, oh yeah, didn't he talk about you in a song?
2 songs, which is crazy because I grew up and obviously I was young when we listened to Eminem, Slim Shady, and we thought he was like the hardest rapper, you know.
And he, by the way,
dolls.
Sorry to cut you, I do want to say that back in the day, he really like cancel culture was a thing because of him. Because I remember he would always talk about killing people and raping people and all that stuff, and everyone was like, oh, Slim Shady. But no, go ahead, what you're going to say.
Yeah. So he was this guy who stood up to the mob over and over again, who were demanding that he get canceled and were calling him names and saying that he was a homophobe. And then he just became the stereotype of all of that and called every single person that supported Trump a racist. And now he's making hard music saying that Candace hates her own race. It is... Woke Shady is just really sad. It's like, oh man, you should have just retired. You don't want to go out like this. You meant so much to so many people because it felt like you were bucking the trend and then you became the trend. So Grandpa Shady isn't my thing, but at least I enjoyed his stuff when I was younger. And I'm going to try to just leave him in the early 2000s in my mind.
I know, I got to get over that too, because he was my first like rapper, like him and 50 Cent. So it's like, it was hard for me to see that too, because it's like, damn, like, he used to be him. Like, he would not give a fuck. Like, if someone tried to be like, you can't do this, you can't do that, he said, fuck you. Like, it would just basically say any slur came to his mind, that whatever he felt, he really, like, stood on top of his business, right? He stood on business. What are your thoughts? They said, what are your thoughts on, sorry, I don't know if this is sensitive because a lot of people are saying it. They're saying Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, so Nick Fuentes, you know what's so crazy? I had never known the Nick Fuentes story. So he's actually one of those names that when you're coming up in politics, everyone kind of behind closed doors is like, Nick Fuentes, like, don't do anything with Nick Fuentes, he's this crazy white supremacist. And I didn't know anything about him, and I'm one of those people that until I actually interact with someone, I just will not adopt someone else's opinion because I think it's lame to do that. And so what happened was I had one correspondence with him back when Ye and him were hanging out, and back basically around the time that I wore the White Lives Matter shirt with Ye about something. And we had a private correspondence, and he kept it like, I really respected it. He never told the public about the public correspondence. It had to do with Ye, so it wasn't anything that was like a big deal.
Yeah.
But I just kind of respected what he did in that moment privately. So I was like, based on my experience with him, people trying to tell me that he was this awful monster didn't add up to what I thought he did that was actually a good thing to do. Then you fast forward, and the first time I actually heard his story was when he jumped on the live and started sharing. I think Lauren Chen was hosting the live about Christ is King being anti-Semitic, and he shared his backstory about what happened to him when he was 18 and being canceled because he stood up to Israel, essentially. And I felt really bad for him. Like, I thought to myself, that is the most messed up story that I've ever heard, like an 18-year-old kid being canceled by everybody because he had some questions about Israel. And I then understood why it was that he sort of built this underground of people who just wanted to see him make a comeback because what was done to him was wrong. Now, I guess, how old is he now? 26, 27 years old?
I think, let me hear, I got Google right here. Hold on, I got you. 3 seconds. And we got the age. He is 26.
Yeah, so, impressive to have built that when everyone kind of canceled you early on for something that you said when you were 18, which should never happen to anyone ever. You should be allowed to be 18 years old and say stupid stuff. And you can understand why then he went to like the extreme of being really angry, because who wouldn't feel that way if they had done all of that to you over like standing up to saying Israel's a foreign country, why do we have to support it? But I think at the age of 26 and 27, people are expecting a little bit more like growth there. Like I'm wondering, like, okay, you have the platform, you beat the thing, right? People are following you and listening to you. Like, what are you going to present now? What are you going to be? You don't have to do the jab, just saying things to be whatever. Like, what are you actually going to present to the public? So I think that will be interesting to see. Like, obviously something to pay attention to, but I do not buy into the stupid hype of people saying, do you disavow Nick Fuentes, that stupid game that everybody plays? It's like, I didn't make about Nick Fuentes. I hate when the right starts acting like the left. And he's right to be mad at the people who did stuff to him when he was 18, Gotcha. Well, look, Candace, I think this is excellent. I would love to do something with you in person next time. We literally gotta link up and do some cool stuff. It's a lot better being in person. We could set more stuff up, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. I will. I mean, there's tons of you go to UFC a lot, right? You go to some good events a couple times a year. Yes, for sure.
I'll have my team and your team connect. Let's get some cool IRL stuff. IRL streaming is a lot better for sure. Is there anything else that you want to say before we end this? No, I just always say to people, I just want to always express how grateful I am to everybody who just has stayed with me on this journey. Like I never want people to think that like I'm unattainable. I pay attention to everything that you guys say, and I know that I wouldn't have a platform if it wasn't for the people that support me every day. And I'm just extremely always grateful and feeling blessed to God and to people that support me and support my show. So just thanks, everybody. Amazing, Candace. It was a pleasure meeting you, a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for coming on my stream. I really appreciate you, Candace.
Thank you so much, Adin. We'll do this in person next time.
We will. All right. See ya.